Now I will like to call Mr. Saurabh Gupta for the next session. And yes, we all had a question at one point that should we host our Kubernetes or should we use the managed Kubernetes? So we have Saurabh Gupta, a solution architect from Vultr, shedding some light on this question with his talk on going a Kubernetes way, self-hosted or managed solutions.
Hey guys, is this too loud? This is okay. Guys at the back. Okay. Yeah, so thanks. This is working, right? I hope so. So I think we were just given 15 minutes, the time has started. Probably didn't have too much of a content, right? Given the space that we're talking about, Kubernetes, KCD, I thought probably 15 minutes is not enough to talk in detail about anything else. And I just picked up this topic. Why? I'll talk about later. I was just setting up my laptop, and as a speaker, if any of you have been a speaker, right, the biggest fear, I think, is not the audience, absolutely not. Audience is always awesome, right? Audience is always awesome. Clap for all of you. Being a speaker, is that a fear? I guess no. The speaker that you have is the best. Don't laugh, don't smile. I know myself, I'm the best, right? It's always whether this machine, that will work or not. You try it at different levels, it always works. When you do it a final presentation, it doesn't work. So now it's showing up, I'm at least happy that kaam chal raha hai. Right? Probably the slide should work, that's what I hope. I don't have any videos, nothing else. So we are talking about Kubernetes 101, 201, right? We have moved from 101 levels, we have moved to 201. Security, implementation, logging, tracing, a lot of stuff. I got this mic. Probably I was not comfortable with that because I don't like standing at a place and doing a demo. I like interacting with my audience. So once again, a huge round of applause for you guys. Huge round of applause. Reason I'll tell you. It's a Saturday. It's approximately 3:30, right? And you are still in this room listening to me, right? So that means a lot for me as a speaker. I spend some time because that's my duty. But you do not have a foundation. There is a surprise element for me at least. I was told we have, 400 plus attendees here. I just see approximately 50, which basically means two things, which I can infer, right? One, 50 here, we have a track 1. That's an awesome track, and we have 350 people in that room. But trust me, I've seen the capacity of the room. I don't think it's 350. The second option is people had lunch, and they dissed us, they went away. And I think that's the case. But as I said, a huge round of applause for you guys because you have stayed here and bearing with us. Whether you like it or not, you find it boring, you find it interesting. I'm not going to talk about anything in detail about Kubernetes, right? I just have a use case. I just want to share you a story. It shows 12 minutes. It might end early, it might end late. Just to give you a brief introduction, I'm Saurabh, I'm a solution architect. I work with a company called Vultr. How many of you have heard about Vultr? Not you. And don't tell me that we saw you in the booth and we saw as a sponsor, so that's why we know. Before this event, how many of you know about Vultr? Oh, that's good. Out of 50, I think 4 or 5 people knew about Vultr, which seems impressive. Yeah, that's a good thing. So, why I choose this topic, which is a very old topic, right? When everyone is talking about Kubernetes, implementation, security, and a lot of blah, blah, lot of stuff. Self-hosted versus managed doesn't sound too old school thing. No. Trust me, I'm doing consulting right now. Still, till date, when I speak to a lot of customers, right? There's a slight of confusion in terms of what should we do, what is all Kubernetes all about, right? There is a generation which is still not getting what is Kubernetes all about. They're not got to Docker itself, right? Docker itself is new for them. Kubernetes is next level. And we have a lot of like those kind of people. If you are any of you, how many of you do consulting, right? Capgemini, TCS, or those client kind of works, client-based works? Sure. Or sir. Yeah, show of hands, yeah. So when you do consulting, you know, right? You still come across people who are very new to Kubernetes. They are very naive about it, and which is fine. Not everyone has to be an expert. It's 2023. Not in 2040, yeah, everyone knows Kubernetes and they are very comfortable about it. So this is a story about one of my friends, a developer friend, a very close friend. A smart, handsome guy. I have known him for a couple of years now. And he is like a typical nerd, when you say a developer, right? A typical nerd developer, that kind of a guy. And I was having a discussion with him, and that's where this topic came up from. His company is exploring Kubernetes, and he wanted to understand, sort of, what's the best way to do it. Should I have my own vanilla Kubernetes and do a self-hosted Kubernetes, or there are so many people who are providing Kubernetes as a service, right? What should we do? A managed one or a self-hosted? Very simple answer. I mean, very simple question, but the answer is tricky. And there's no straightforward answer. And I think probably you guys would be able to understand why it's not straightforward answer at the end of this session. And people who are in this room, right? Sir, can you please close the room so that no one can escape? Close that door. I want all the 50 guys here, 50, 52, or whoever are there, end of the show. Till the time I don't show you a thank you slide, no one goes out. And since you have been into this room, there is a special bonus kind of a gift for you guys. You might use it, you might like it, but yeah, we have a bonus for you. So on that note, I'll take a start. And hopefully now things should be on track as I want. I mean, yeah. So agenda, I already mentioned, right? We will talk about self-hosted, when to use, what to use, when not to use. We will talk about some cases for using managed Kubernetes, and we will see some popular Kubernetes providers in the market, right? So I told about my developer friend, his name is Joe, right? And what do you remember about him? He's a nerd, he's a developer, a smart, young guy. So let me introduce you to Joe. This is Joe. Don't laugh, man. What's there to laugh? Nothing to laugh, right? He's a developer. See, he's seriously busy about his work. He's very passionate about it, right? And that's where I said he's a nerd. So this is Joe. This is his story. His confusion is, should we opt for a self-managed versus managed Kubernetes, right? A managed service versus a self-hosted. So when I talk to him, I start about some of the benefits that self-hosted Kubernetes gives you. And just keep in mind at the back of your mind when we're talking this thing, do not relate this directly to Kubernetes. Omit the word or remove the word Kubernetes, just focus on self-hosted and managed. You would be able to relate very easily to those terms. If you put Kubernetes, things become complex. For me, this is a KCD thing I'm doing for Kubernetes. So I have to put the word Kubernetes there just for the showcase, right? But you should focus on self-managed versus hosted part. By the time, I think you would have already read all those things, so it's not going to repeat about it. But why do I choose a self-hosted environment, right? There are a lot of providers who are doing managed Kubernetes. Why should I reinvent the wheel? There are certain use cases, there might be certain logic about it, where this might be the need of the hour. One simple example is, like you might have a very age-old legacy application where things are not possible to Dockerize or move into a container kind of a system, and you want to keep them on-prem, right? And probably that's where it's very difficult to spend a lot of time and effort on that. I want to do it on my own, and I don't want to take it on the cloud side of it. This is talking about the benefits of it, right? So one thing that you get out of the self-hosted architecture, so I'm not talking about Kubernetes, but in general, right, self-hosted, you get a lot of control. It's your application, it's your system, you are completely in control of that. There is no other person who is dictating terms to you that this is available, this is not. This is something that you can do, this is something that you can't, right? So full control on your application, or in this case, full control on your Kubernetes cluster or whatever you are running, right? And highly configurable. Definitely you have the control as much as you want, you can configure that based on your requirements. Control granularity, I think that's the same thing. It's a kind of a repetitive thing, right? Apart from that, I think the third point that talks about the security, it's a mix. It's a mixed thing as in, probably in case you are an expert or you basically are coming from a security side of it, and you have a dedicated set of people who can manage and secure your cluster, it's always have to have an in-house and self-hosted. But not everyone have that kind of a luxury. You are a startup with 4 people. No one comes from a security background. It's a backend, 2 guys, one managing DBA, and then the other is doing marketing, right? Who will take care of security? Who will take care of Kubernetes? Probably not your game then. So these were some of the benefits of, in general, a self-hosted environment. We can extend that to any architecture. As I said, this is very specific to Kubernetes, but yeah, you can extend it to architecture in general. When to use, I gave you one example. So probably let's see when to use, right? Now, organizations which are quite big in size, what we call as enterprise, you are an enterprise level organization, you have the luxury of like spending a lot of money, time, and effort in building a Kubernetes or like an expertise, right? It could be a DevOps team, SRE team, whatever you call them, cloud experts. You have that kind of a money and leverage to do that. So probably that's a good way. Or probably you have already boarded the plane and you are already a part of the Kubernetes journey. You already have dedicated team. You don't have to worry about it. I have 20 people who can take care of my Kubernetes cluster, right? I spend a lot. I had done the hiring before COVID. These people are now gained that expertise, and probably I think self-hosted is good for me. Why should I go for a managed one, right? So that's one level where just from a sheer size of the company, and in terms of size, when I say it's manpower plus the monetary part, right? You can afford to have an in-house Kubernetes solution or in-house self-hosted solution. I think this is something which I've already talked about. You have old age legacy solutions that cannot move to Docker. We tried doing that, didn't work out well. So what to do? Okay, we have to let it be inside, and probably we can't take it to cloud. So it will be inside our own on-prem, and we will have a small Kubernetes cluster to manage that. We will have 3-4 people team who will take care of this thing. So this is, again, something which you can't get rid of. I'm sure all the new age startups, anyone doing a startup in this room? For me, startup is 2 people to 200 people. It's all startup. No organization, like anyone from a 200 people team. We are a 180 people team. Yeah, even we don't call ourselves startup, not because of the size, but because of the time that we have spent into the industry. We have been more than a decade into that industry, so I think we are not any more eligible for a startup tag. But yeah, startups are doing microservices and those kind of stuff, right? But the old legacy organizations that we talked about, they still have workloads which can't be moved out, and hence you have to do a self-hosted Kubernetes for that. Third, very valid reason, and some of you might be able to relate this one, is legal compliance workloads, right? So there are legal issues, there are compliance challenges, there is some kind of a data that I cannot expose to public cloud. I cannot utilize a public vendor for that. It has to be in-house. That's the only reason. And then probably, since it's in-house, I can't do anything else. I have to do a self-hosted Kubernetes, right? So, and there could be many more cases. I'm not saying these are the only cases. These are something which I have seen from my experience that probably at a high level, they stand out. When we talk about self-hosted Kubernetes, why you have your own Kubernetes cluster and why do you manage it? Okay, talking about the cons side, right? Definitely everything comes with the pros and cons. We have seen the pros of this. Some cons. Can people help me? Anyone who is doing a self-hosted Kubernetes, what would be the challenges? No one does a self-hosted one. Please be louder. Maintenance, yes. What else? I'm sorry. Upgrades, yes. Okay, let's see. My timer says 1 minute. I'm not sure how well I'll complete in 1 minute, but yeah. I'll take some more time maybe, probably, if needed. So yeah, significant investment of resources, right? By resources, we mean both people and skills. That's where we talked about the first point. If you are an organization with big pockets, you have that luxury of hiring a team, building a team, giving them time to train on Kubernetes. Kubernetes is not a one-day job, right? You have a lot of learning curve. And it's not days. Probably it's going to be a quarter before you have a team ready and start delivering. So in case you have that luxury, it's fine. Otherwise, it needs a lot of reinvestment, both in terms of people and technical skills. So yeah, this is like a no-brainer, right? Kubernetes is complex. You do not want to own that complex piece. So someone said, one of my friends, issues, problems, support, right? Troubleshooting. As a developer, probably you might not have faced, but if you are an SRE, as a DevOps, or as a frontline runner for the company, right? Things do break down in production. And if it's a Kubernetes workload, it becomes very difficult to figure out what went wrong, right? You might not have the expertise. You have an expertise to run the cluster. Troubleshooting is a different game. And trust me, if troubleshooting on Kubernetes is happening for you due to some or the other reason, if you're very lucky, you will have Stack Overflow and the community help. Otherwise, you put on Stack Overflow, no one is looking into that question itself. And this is something real first-hand example, right? So I very much rely on the community part, but then yeah, sometimes it's not even the community where you can get that help. So maybe that's another pain point that people avoid. Definitely when you have your own in-house team and in-house clusters, there are operational overheads, right? Hiring teams, maintaining teams, all those stuff. So because of certain reasons, you don't want to do that self-managed Kubernetes stuff. So this was a discussion, phase 1, I had with Joe. So we are not going through a slide or a session. You remember? I'm sharing a story. This is Joe, the developer that we saw. So this was one part of the session. Now comes the second part. So it's a self-managed Kubernetes, and probably it hurts. Any of you who has managed a Kubernetes cluster on their own, not relying on a vendor or a partner, one day or the other you would have felt like this. Definitely, I'm sure. When things break in production, that's the kind of reaction that you get probably. And that's where we have our friends, our vendors who come to our rescue. Why do you take that load? I'm there, Baba. You pay me and I'll take care of everything, right? Just give me 2 more minutes, I'll rush. Reasons to use the managed Kubernetes service, I'll just repeat the same things which we talked for not doing a managed one, right? So basically you get out of the box all the services, right? A control plane, simple deployment options, maintenance, upgrades, someone said upgrades. This is something that has been taken care by the vendor. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have engineering expertise to do it in-house. Valid reason. You're a small startup. You can't spend too much money, too much energy on setting up a team. And I can directly outsource that piece to someone else who has that expertise, right? Don't want to hire engineers for only the infrastructure piece. Makes sense. Interesting one, right? We talk about DevOps, more dev, less ops. So when you focus only on development and product marketing, the GTM, right? The go-to-market things, this gives you more time, more bandwidth, because now infrastructure part, Kubernetes part is being handled by someone else. And definitely better support and help during issues, outages. First of all, you might not have outages because someone else is maintaining it. In case you have something, you have dedicated set of people to reach out to and get the expertise, definitely paid expertise. Just wanted to share some of the popular managed Kubernetes providers over there. So these are some of the popular global providers. EKS, GKE by Google, AKS from Azure, Vultr Cloud there, VK is what we call it as, Vultr Kubernetes Engine, and definitely DigitalOcean, DOKS. I'll just run fast through the advantages of, because we are talking about Vultr. Some of you are familiar, some of you are not. This is just one slide and probably the last one. So you get a free control plane. Some of you who are using other vendors, right? Some of the vendors I come to know, they charge for control plane also. Not all, but some of them. And you know which all. So I need not specify them. So we do give you a free control plane. We do not charge you for the control plane. You just get charged for the worker nodes. So no management fee for the control plane. And these are basically what I'm giving you at a very high level. We are there at the booth, at Vultr booth. So in case you have any queries around it, you can just reach out to me or my team here. Yeah, so I think this is another interesting one, right? GPU is like flavor of the season. Everyone is talking about GPUs and a lot of investments going there and what will happen in the next few years. So we have exclusive partnership with NVIDIA for the GPU side, and then we have those available in VKE clusters. So that's an important reason. In case you are, or any of your customers is looking for GPU-based Kubernetes cluster, Vultr has that. So support for the newest Kubernetes releases. This is again important because some of you always keep a track of the new release, new patches on Kubernetes side, want it as early as it's released. Some of the vendors that you people only complain that they don't do it, right? Probably they take weeks before you get the new version updated on their system. So we do it as soon as it's released. So, and yeah, the last one is, it's something which is coming soon, but any of you who uses crossplane, we also have a crossplane integration on our Kubernetes cluster, which is coming soon, right? And I was talking about one surprise element for all these people who are into this room. So the surprise, that's not the surprise element, that's my email, that's my Twitter handle, so that's not the surprise. Surprise is this, $250 credit. In case you want, you can take a snapshot of this. Surprise is, normally when you sign at vultr.com, typically you get a $200 kind of a credit. But this time, just for these people, right, whoever has shown that kind of a patience and bearing with us at this point of time, we are giving you $50 extra. You can sign up and play around the Vultr cloud and have this integration done. On that note, it's a thank you. Just give me one more minute to finally conclude. So this was not a presentation. This was a session about friend, Joe, right? So this is over. I said at the end, you will have more understanding of what should work with a managed versus a self-hosted thing, right? Just one question, give me an answer, and probably you will answer your own query. How many of you came here using an Ola or Uber? That's it? Everyone else is driving? In Mumbai? Public transport? Okay. Okay, let me reverse that question. Who all came driving here for this event? 1, 2, 3. So out of 50, 55 people, 4, 5 people came driving. Others took Ola, Uber, public transport. What is Ola, Uber, and public? That's a managed service, right? Why did you choose that? Probably you didn't want to drive. Simple reason, I don't want to drive. I live too far. I don't have Ola availability over there. Or something else, right? People who wanted to drive, who had that luxury, who had, I mean, I'm sure everyone has a 4-wheeler, 2-wheeler at home, right? Didn't choose to bring that 2-wheeler. You choose convenience over driving, right? I didn't use Ola. I didn't use Uber. I didn't use public transport. I didn't drive here. A very different use case. I came walking, right? Reason, simple reason. This is Lalit. I was staying at JW. 15 minutes to book an auto, 5 minutes to walk. So this is my specific use case. Instead of talking to an auto and bargaining and haggling, I can just walk down, right? And I can just enter Lalit. So based on your use case, what is your use case, what is your architecture, you need to take a call. Whether a self-hosted Kubernetes versus a managed Kubernetes, what is a better solution for me? Most of the times as a consultant, what I have seen is people follow the herd practice, which is I'm a startup founder. I know people use AWS, I'll use it. I know people who do self-hosted Kubernetes, I'll do it. It's not always the same, right? I preferred walking. You guys preferred driving. Someone preferred taking an Ola or Uber, right? So it's a case-by-case basis thing. Okay, this got stuck. Don't break my laptop. On that note, I think thanks for being a patient audience and listening to me. And have a wonderful day. Any queries or questions, we are available outside.
Yeah. So thank you, Saurabh, for this session. I hope you got the question clear that for your startup, which Kubernetes service you will be using. Now, I would like to call Divya for presenting a small token of appreciation to Saurabh.